Word. Well, where purpose, truth, resilience, faith, and legacy meet. Queen Visionary Angel on the mic. Faith, fire, and purpose. Let's go. I'm your host, Queen Visionary Angela, holding down the mic with grace. This is where powerful voices rise and truth meets face to face. We spotlight authors, poets, leaders, advocates with something to say. We educate, empower, encourage to heal, to grow, to stay. We're walking with a reason. We're built for more than noise. Faith in every season and hope in every choice. Lean in, listen closely. The message comes alive. And what a host of the year. That honor came to me. 2026 in view. Lifetime achiever elite. But tonight belongs to the story and the voices we respect. Open up your heart now. Open up your ears. We're making room for justice, for healing, truth, and every step has meaning. Every word can change a life. Walking in purpose, we rise tonight. Truth in the mic and faith in the light. Legacy building one voice at a time. Angela's here and the purpose gon' shine. Walking in purpose, we rise tonight. Truth in the mic and faith in the light. The legacy continues. It's the dynasty. The legacy continues. It's the dynasty. Tonight we welcome Christopher King, JD, King Cast in the room. Independent, fearless, clear, bringing truth into the Zoom. Courtroom stories, civil rights, accountability in view. When purpose calls, we answer back, and we walk it all the way through. This is legacy work. This is purpose in motion. Welcome. 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 Let's walk in purpose. It's the
I guess you probably want me to unmute. I guess I need to unmute so we can get this party started tonight. We can get this party started tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I always get excited, y'all. I get excited. We're getting ready to go live right here on the WBNN Beverly Nation, streaming through TalkShoe.com. We're going to be live from Lagos, Nigeria. Y'all can go ahead and get your pen, your pencils, your notepad, get your drinks, get everything ready. So when we go live at 9:30, you don't have to move. You can be right here to get this information that's going to come forth on tonight. As you can see on the screen beside me, you can call in at 605-562-044 or 717-734-6904. Make sure you punch in that access code, which is 546-1150#. And to enter the studio, you're going to press £1 and then *2 if you want to jump in on the conversation. Go ahead and get in queue so you can jump in on the conversation. And I'm going to ask if you would please share this out with at least 5 of your friends. Share it to your page, share it to your stories, share it out so that we can get out there and individuals can jump on in. I want to thank everyone that's tuning in on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Keek. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And please, if you are not following, make sure that you are following so that when we go live on the Crew Podcast, you're able to chime in, you're able to chime in and stay connected to these amazing hosts that make up this amazing network. But tonight, y'all, I am over here on the WBNN where I first started, y'all. I've been on this journey for 6 years, going on 7 years. May, I just celebrated 6 years, y'all, and I'm almost ready to celebrate my 7th year, y'all. So come on, share this with somebody. Come on, because I can guarantee you, you're going to be blessed on tonight. You're going to be blessed on tonight. We're going to be touching on some things that you probably have been seeing in the media, some things that we have been doing. A lot of us do a lot of things behind the scenes. So a lot of y'all don't know what we do, but I utilize my platform to educate, empower, and encourage. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight. I'm getting ready to call in to be in the studio so I can get live in the studio. So I want y'all to go ahead and share this out with somebody while I prepare to go live on the WBNN, y'all. Come on, come on, come on. And don't be shy. Press that *2 so you can get in the queue. So you can get in the queue and join the conversation on tonight. Y'all know it would be no me without you guys supporting. So make sure that you press that *2 so that you can get in the queue. Yeah. Come on in, come on in, come on in. I'm calling in right now so that I can get in queue, y'all. Don't want to get too far behind because I get too far behind, I might not be able to get in there, y'all. So come on, share it out with somebody. Please enter the show ID followed by the pound key. You can access. Enter your PIN followed by the pound key. You are joining the online studio. Your line is muted. Only the host can unmute your line. Raise your hand using *2 so the host knows when you want to speak. Make sure y'all come on in, come on in, come on in. Get ready, get ready, get ready. Yeah. Sign.
You will now exit the conference. Muted. Walking in Purpose, the 2026 International Radio Hall of Fame broadcast invited Sheila Lynn, one outstanding and her consummate broadcasting live producer downtown Lagos, Nigeria. She is the host of the 2013 the Robin Pennsylvania United States of America. This program is brought to you by the Great Dragon Stop by a Lager, Kingston, Jamaica, and the Tasty Baking Company, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, maker of Tasty Baking. They sure all lines are. All right, if you're there.
I am.
All right, Destination and Talk Show Radio, Lagos, Nigeria. The time is 9:49. Eastern Daylight. Recording started.
And welcome to our 4,573rd presentation of Ngozi Time Multimedia LLC. You're tuned in to Walking in Purpose with Angela, where purpose, truth, resilience, faith, and legacy meet through powerful conversations. I have learned to use my voice and microphone to spotlight authors, poets, community leaders, advocates, and purpose driven individuals who are making an impact on the world, creating a space of meaningful dialogue, here to encourage you to reflect, grow, remain committed to your personal journey of faith, healing, and purpose. My work in the digital broadcasting has earned me an opportunity to be inducted into the International Internet Radio Hall of Fame for Broadcasting, class of 2023, and the recipient of the Anna Waddell Host of the Year for my contributions to online radio and multimedia broadcasting. As the legacy continues, I am also the 2026 International Internet Radio Hall of Fame Broadcasting Lifetime Achiever elect. Tonight, I have a very, very special guest that's going to be joining us. We're going to welcome Christopher King JD, widely known online as King Cass or Mr. King. He is an independent investigative journalist, legal commentary, former practicing attorney, and citizens journalist who has built a strong presence covering courtroom procedures, civil rights matters, government accountability, public interest case. With a legal background and a passion for media transparency, Christopher King brings a unique voice to the conversation surrounding justice, access, accountability, and the role of independent journalism in today's society. With his legal and media background, Christopher King holds a Juris Doctor's degree and has previously worked as a practicing attorney, including experiences in residential closings and title insurance. Over time, his work has evolved from traditional legal practice into media, commentary, public records advocacy, and independent journalism. Through his platforms, King Cass has developed a long running space for legal commentary, investigative updates, and public interest reporting. He is also he also hosts Corruption Meets Camera on Roku TV and maintains an active presence on YouTube and other digital platforms where he shares updates, live commentary, and coverage of courtroom settings and public proceedings. King Cass has frequently traveled to cover public interest stories, recently covering outside the courtroom the Carmelo Anthony's case. He's also known for covering the case of a disappearance of Maury Murray, amongst many. He's also won a lawsuit against the city of Seattle. And just to name a few of his things that he has done. Y'all, tonight we are going to be talking about living in this time, the time that we are living in. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited because this topic is both timely and necessary. So I want to encourage you to join the conversation. Join the conversation by calling in at 717-734-6904. Make sure you punch in the access code, which is 546-1150 pound. To enter the studio, you must enter £1. And to join the conversation, star two. I guarantee you're going to want to grab your favorite beverage, get comfortable, get a pen, get a piece of paper, because you're going to want to take some notes. Tonight is going to be full of information. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome up my guest of the hour, Mr. King Cass. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Great evening. I appreciate the intro. I am here to tell you the stories, and we're going to get right into it. Just a couple minor corrections. No, I don't. I'm a JD, but I'm an Esquire again. I renewed my license. I've been telling these people all along I could just go and get it when I wanted, and that's what I did. So no puzzle there, right? Despite some of the people that said I've disbarred and this, that, and the other, no, they're getting sued. I know Jeff says he's going to sue people too. We'll get in all that too, right? But point blank, I said I was going to get it back. I went and got it back, and I got it back right before this trial came because something told me, my spidey senses told me that this was going to be funky. And, having been a licensed practicing corporate attorney in Collin County, something told me that something funny would go down. And something funny did go down, and it's still going down. So there's that. So that, and then also the Roku platform and the YouTube that kind of fallen by the wayside because they throttled me back on those platforms. The Roku, I didn't really develop a whole lot, but the YouTube was huge, especially when I was doing stuff for white and black and Asian and every homeowner, helping them save their homes in this onslaught of abuse that is fostered by BlackRock and all those companies that affect all Americans, regardless of race, color, religion, creed, etc. And so I use my experience as a former, closing attorney in real estate to actually address these wrongs strategically with homeowners of all races, ethnicities, and colors. So there's that, because it's like I have to always qualify myself, because if you say something to a Metcalfian, and the Metcalfs are one of the Metcalfs is a decedent in this case that we're here primarily to talk about. If you say something to these people that they don't like, they'll throw the racism at you, right? It's automatic.
For sure.
You don't like what he's saying, he's racist, right? So that's just a little bit of a primer there. So I'm more on TikTok now and Facebook and things of that nature. So that's where we are right now. Where do I want to go first? These are troubling and challenging times for all of us, regardless of race, age, color, or ethnicity. I like saying every paragraph now, right? This is so ridiculous. But so, yes, we are. And I think what I will do first, I'm going to do three basic things. Okay, I'm going to spend the least amount of time about my background, all right? And then I'm going to discuss, my background will include three cases, okay? I'm going to start with Lico Kenny out of New Hampshire, and that's tied in with Maura Murray that you mentioned. I'm going to talk about Darrell Jones in Mass, and the third case is going to be the case about Jason Vassell, which is most directly topical to this case because it involved an innocent young black college student stabbing angry white boys who attacked him while they were trespassing at his dorm room. Let's do that. So, let's do that. And then I'm going to sum up kind of with a summary of what I've observed about Collin County most recently and throughout history. It has been proclaimed as the most the dirtiest county the most corrupt county in Texas. and I'll get into all that later, then part of the corruption didn't involve anybody black. It was a white jurist. Okay? So they'll eat their own. Got it? Get it? Good.
So
Okay?
before we jump into the
And we also
case,
discussed-
before we jump into the case, I want to ask you a question because it I'm not gonna say it's kind of off, but what made you go from transitioning? What inspired you to transition from practicing law into becoming a investigative, independent um, journalist, legal commentary, just getting into the media? What made you go from practicing law into media?
Oh, well, the timeline's a little bit skewed. I was an investigative journalist before I went to law school.
Oh, okay.
So there's that piece. So yeah, let's weave on into the background history here. Let's take a few minutes to knock that out. Okay, so I was born in 1965 in Cleveland, Ohio, and I went to no calls right now. I'm on a call. All right, so I was raised in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. We had to my parents had to sue to get there. Redlining, all that stuff, right? So, I went to a pretty elite prep school most of my young life. It's called Hawken, and it's on the east side of Cleveland. And, Hawken did have a couple of racial issues, but pretty much not so much, really. It was one of the more bohemian prep schools in the country. And so I enjoyed that. Later on, it went through some different changes. It got a little bit more militaristic, if you will. But, I was cool. I mean, I don't feel like race ever was a hindrance there. And in fact, we got a Huey flying overhead. Maybe it's not Huey, it's a medical chopper. Let it go through here. All right, it's gone. I got one story about Hawken School. Okay, so I was on the chess team, and there was an argument broke out. And then so a couple other members, they were down the hallway, and there was an argument over somebody's grave. And this Jewish kid named Ben Friedman actually called my friend Bob Fonny a nigger, right? So Bob put up the side of his head and he didn't break his nose. We gave him a bloody nose, right? So they go to the assistant headmaster's office, right? And they're in there. And Dr. Bruce Carr, you can look him up, all right? He's still on Facebook. Bruce said, I guess I'm old enough now, I can call him Bruce. When Bruce said, he said, well, Ben, did you say it? And Ben says, yeah, I said it. And then he looked at me, he's like, well, there you go. You got what you needed. So that's the kind of environment that I remember Hawken the most of. It was all right by me. So anyway, after that, I did my undergrad, which was communications with a focus on journalism and rhetoric and news reporting. And that was in Cincinnati. And before I even graduated, I was the editor of the Ohio Call and Post, which is a black-owned newspaper. And I was a Cincinnati editor of that, right? And it was a lot of work, I'm going to tell you that, right? But I took that over other options I had that were more mainstream because I was, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to really get into the community and do that sort of thing. So did that. And then I said, well, I'm going to go to law school eventually. Let me transfer. I want to work for a larger paper, a more mainstream, read white-owned newspaper, so I can have that experience, right, to be well-rounded. So that's what I did. And then I worked for the Indianapolis Star, and I was just a general beat reporter. And so that's what that was about. And then I went on to law school. At law school, I clerked for Terry Gilbert. He's a high-powered lawyer out of Cleveland, a lot of murder trials, civil rights. He does opposite of all. Some offices only do criminal defense, and some only do civil rights. But Freeman and Gilbert did it both. And I watched them grow. At that time, there were just 2 attorneys. Now they've got 6 attorneys. They got a couple offices. They've got an innocence clinic at Cleveland Marshall Law School that Terry started. And then also I started clerking for the Attorney General's office. And I was doing that, those 2, and going to law school. So, I mean, you can do that when you're 28, I guess, right? You just go. You wake up, you just say go, and you go. And so, anyway, I transitioned from Terry's office to the AG's office because Terry was not hiring other attorneys at that time. And so none of the law clerks that we were working there really got offers, and we had to just move on in the diaspora. So I did that. And became an assistant attorney general working in some criminal-related stuff in the employment section. So this means if you had a wrongful termination or unemployment was withheld because of criminal activity, I had to work with law enforcement to determine if that was like a legitimate reason to stop your unemployment benefit. Okay. Then administration change came in 95. Republican came in and whacked everybody in the office pretty much that wasn't aligned with them or that was like a peon. And at the time I was a peon, right? And so we got whacked and they brought in more Republican staff. And now I'm legal. I've won several criminal defense cases, settled a lot of civil rights cases for people of all walks of life, landlord, tenant stuff, all this, right? So I got suspended for a year because at one point I had this guy, he's a friend of mine and another attorney, but not in my office. Sam Pope is his name. You can look up these records. They make it sound like villains, okay? I'm very open about my past. I'd love to see Jeff Metcalf be open about his past. I've invited him to come to this show, by the way. So what it was I knew that one of my clients named Candy Cantrell was dating a black guy. And I knew that her apartment was like a hellhole, all right? It was, you could literally see, I went to the apartment with her, you could see the ceiling through the bathroom, okay? And one day, she's a bigger girl, right? I mean, she slipped on this gelatinous mass that had fallen from the ceiling by the toilet. And she did some damage. So we're suing for that. Everything's going along, whatever, okay, we're personal injury case. And then I'm at the pizza shop underneath there, right, kind of behind it. And I'll never forget. He says, well, "Aren't you Candy's lawyer?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, her landlord's always out here calling her a nigger lover. And I'm like, "What?" And so he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Wow." And so I told my friend about it. He says, "Wow." Because it's a white dude, but he doesn't like racism either. I mean, I don't want to get into racial polemics here. They call it polemics because you got some not all kinfolk or kinfolk, and not all white people are evil. Like a third of my family's white, man. They do it, right?
Right.
So, I mean, a lot of my brothers, it's not about that, right? It's not about that. So Sam says, wow. And so knowing that I went through this case, which you guys can all look up, my parents were testers in this landmark case called Heights Community Congress versus Hilltop Realty. And it provided that testers could, get damages for going to homes to pose as renters or buyers, right? So Sam says, well, I'm going to call them up and ask them an independent, like a neutral set of questions to see how they react to me. And I says, okay, right? And at that time, remember, Ohio was a one-party state and had not adopted the ABA model rule that says lawyers cannot surreptitiously record. So I'm like, okay, give it a shot. I was not in the room. I wasn't there. I went down the hallway. I didn't want to hear what went on. I was gone, right? So the landlord ends up saying something nasty. It didn't drop an N-bomb, but said some other nasty stuff that a landlord should never say, right? So I added it to the complaint. And I said, this is, shows this type of conduct, this type of negativity coming from her. I won't say what they said because that's not cool. But, and so anyway, they bring me up on charges for that. And now, by the way, I've never had a customer complaint. All complaints come from a judge or like a, big business people, right? And the lawyer who brought this complaint against me is a Schottenstein. They own the Schottenstein Center where Ohio State plays football. So this guy brings a claim against me. And they sustain it kind of. But what they do is they put me on probation because there really was nothing there, right? There was nothing there. So I'm on probation for like a year. And then all of a sudden, I notice when I'm going to court, there's always a discussion in the back that I can barely hear. Like, there'll be a lawyer back there talking to the judge, and I'll hear the word, oh, probation. They're back there talking about me. Because remember, I was in the news all the time.
Right.
I was always, the mosque, local mosque, used to host my pressers. Minister Denel Muhammad out of Columbus. And so, they couldn't stand me. Basically, this was back before underground, or not underground, this was back before alternative press got bought out by the major press, right? So there was a newspaper there called Columbus Alive, right? And I would just sit in our office. There was my car mechanic was right behind there. And every Friday, I'd just grab a six-pack and one of my cars and just go sit around, just bounce back and forth between my mechanic and play with my car, and then go to the newspaper and tell them the news that was going on. That was perfect, right? So we know the corporations bought all that stuff out. So that model went away. I was no longer in the headlines, and the major press still had me sometimes, covering these cases where I would sue City Hall for corruption and withholding evidence and records, right? So that happened, and so basically I started getting sanctioned, and it just was like, okay, fine. So they gave me this 1 year suspension, and I said, okay, fine. I just never went back. I went to work in wireless. I am a wireless consultant. I'm still going to do some of that, right? I help little people. Here we go again, of all races, ages, colors, and ethnicities. I help them deal with wireless carriers on their property.
Wow.
The chances are you're not getting enough money. There are terms that are not fair to you, and it can leave the property and just leave you in a bad way. Let's just put it that way without getting too legal about it, right? So they can do all those things to you, and you don't have a lot of power. Like right now, I know Dish has left a lot of people in the lurch because Dish dissolved. And there's a long story behind that, but there's no help for these homeowners. What are they got to do? Like, you got this equipment sitting on your property, and you're like, wait a minute, take it off. They're like, no, we're gone. So it's a hot mess, right? This is true. If you're a homeowner, I don't care what color you are, they're screwing you, right?
So how long?
What I did for yeah.
How long was you? It was since got suspended and you decided. Because I know you just said that you just got your license back for going to Collin County. So how long were you without your license?
Oh God, 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
right?
So what? So for real, what made you come out of retirement after 20 years? Because I heard you several times say that you were making good money doing what you was doing, that you didn't need to be no lawyer, that you was making really good money, and you didn't want to be bothered with the hassle. So what made you decide that, hey, I need to get back in this? I need to get back in this game.
This case is really important. Okay, I can't put anyone ahead of the other. This case was massive, all right? And also, the wireless thing is kind of ephemeral in a sense. Like, there'll be a wave of activity and then nothing. Wave of activity, then nothing. And I'm like, well, you know what? I need to go on back, and I need to get this paper route more solidified if I want to retire. So, no, I was never in retirement. Let's not make it all that. But I just didn't need. I don't have children, so I was like, I don't need to have to choose nest egg, right? Because I'm not paying for somebody's school. I'm not, that's not a part of my deal. I'm not paying for extra mouth, right? So, but I said, no. And I said, there's some things I want to do in this life that, it's just better to have a license back, get your paper back, And I'd always told kids, I had a nonprofit in law school with my girlfriend and some other friends of mine of all races, ethnicities, and colors. And we would go around and talk to kids in schools about the value of getting your paper route. And it didn't mean that you had to go to a 4-year school. It just meant that you want to be a car mechanic, go get that ASC registration. You want to be a veterinarian, whatever you want to be, just get it, so you can move forward. So, and I said, well, I'm not really being true to that, to what I'm doing. You might as well get the license back. So I went and got that back. And it was important for me to have it before this trial. Like I said, I just knew something wasn't going to happen here. And I wanted to be able to tell people, look, most of the people out here have never won a criminal jury trial. I've won, it's like 3 of them. They've never, they couldn't find a law school with a map, a compass, and an Uber, right? And you're going to tell me about the law. No, you're not. Excuse me. Or you're going to tell me about journalism, and you never worked for a daily newspaper. You never went to school for it. I mean, like, these people have so much hubris online that you can't believe it. And I think my book is going to be called The Same Hubris, because it's the same hubris that I see from these McAlpians that, in my opinion, got Austin killed. We can do whatever we want to do. And I know you can. Right?
Wow.
Gosh.
So when you say McAfeeans, because a lot of people may not know who you're talking about or what you're talking about.
Right.
So can you explain who are the McAfeeans?
Sure. We're going to get ahead of the story. Then we're going to come back to the feature when I tell you about. Then we'll come up to it again. So on April 2nd, 2025, there was an incident, a fatality, a tragic thing happened for both sets of families at Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas, about 15 miles from where I used to live in Plano, okay? As a corporate attorney, right? So anyway, basically, the video shows several youth of mixed races, but predominantly white, roll up to Carmelo Anthony, who was from a visiting, well, I won't say visiting team. There was an 8-team track, a regional track meet, right? Okay. So at this track meet, there were a couple rain delays, heavy storms that come through. And in between that, it was still drizzling, as will be seen on the clear video once we obtain it. It was still drizzling. Carmelo Anthony takes a seat in the corner of Memorial tent. He was a student at Centennial. There were other students under that tent, not belonging to Memorial. Okay? And it's not that uncommon for kids to mingle during these all-day track affairs. It's not like football. Okay? So, anyway, the video clearly shows Hunter and Austin Metcalf, a kid named Eddie, Para, and another kid. They approach from outside the track, and they come in and goes directly to Carmelo. He's sitting there. Now, Carmelo, by the way, is an epileptic, and he had saved a life before. Okay, these are all facts, none of which came out in sentencing, but we'll get there later, okay, when we come back around. So they come up to him, and the testimony was, Austin said, "You need to move or I'll beat your ass." The dude's like, "No, man." And the testimony also said that he said, "We're going to be okay as long as you don't put your hands on me, as long as you don't touch me." Right? Well, Austin disobeyed that, and as Major Press indicated, Austin gave him what's called basically a lineman tackle, coming up from several rows below, gave him a lineman tackle, at which point Carmelo Anthony became basically a human pinball. And we see Carmelo squirt out the back. But we see continued activity after that. And someone appears to go to Austin's chest with a strike. But see, on the video they released to the public is all blurry. But I've talked to just about, I'd say, 3/4 of the people who saw this video that they only showed for a while at the facility there. And they've all said, "No, that's not the video, dude. It's clearer." And we'll get into that later when I come back around to this case. But in any event, somehow or another, Austin ends up getting poked. His coach said he got poked in the abdomen. The autopsy report, I guess, is saying that it was in the chest. I mean, in the chest. And so during this whole thing, all 4 of these boys are standing. Carmelo never alighted from his seat, except for when Austin gave him that lineman tackle. And Jeff Metcalf, if you're on here, come on up in a minute, man. We'll talk about it, bro. Right? Because you can see it on the video. Right? So at some point, he gets stabbed. Now, at trial, everybody said they couldn't see the poke. That's even Hunter said that. His brother, twin brother, his 220-pound brother. Carmelo's like my size, like 160, right? Okay. So, anyway, Carmelo ends up getting convicted, but we'll get back around to that in a minute. So, in any event, Austin gets poked, falls down the bleachers. He kind of, everything disintegrates. It's crazy. And Carmelo runs out, grabs a coach who he knows or whatever. Then he brings the coach back, and they're talking about this whole thing. Anyway, so basically, that day, Austin Metcalf died. And I don't want to get too far in that case yet. I want to go back to my history and then come back to this case. Okay, so I call them Metcalfians because they will excuse anything and everything that's wrong about the Metcalfs because they got a bit of power. He's a real estate agent. And, if you say something they disagree with, they attack you. They try to take your lives down on TikTok. They'll threaten you. I've got some threats. I just sued a couple of them. My subpoenas went out the other day to Meta for Facebook and to TikTok as well. And I may get sued too, but we don't have it out. I'm not going to back down from these people. That's what it's about. Let's get it on, man. So that's kind of why I call them Metcalfians, because they will excuse everything. And we'll get back to, Megan excusing these boys, like harassing cheerleaders. It's like my mother would have beat my ass if I ever done, right? But Megan's like,
Hunter with his bisexual hands.
Hunter's in his bisexual hands. He can hit boys and girls. That's right. You know what? My mother took that tennis racket out of my hand when I was in like 11th grade, and because I was smoking weed out in the basement. And look, she came after my head and thorax with that racket. If she had ever heard me disrespecting females like that, oh my God, dude, I wouldn't be here. She called my dad. They see, so it's time for him to go. You know? Yeah, we made the worthless son of a bitch. You know, we're sorry, but it's time for him to leave this planet. God, swear to God. This is so simple, right, guys? So, all right. No, watch the next Kathy's going to say, "Oh, King's a simp." I'm like, whatever you say, you can't beat these people, all right? They're always coming back at you with something, right? It's like, no, it's not simp, it's called basic respect for humans, right? God.
Wow.
All right. Okay. So let's go back to my background. And I want to talk about these three cases because they all have relevance to what's going on today. All right. Let's start with Liko Kenny. I got three cases here, okay? The first one, he a white boy. You hear me, Jeff? This a white boy.
Jean jacket gonna get you.
Listen, I think Davey Kenny is we have a screenplay involving this whole thing, right? And I talk to Davey, his father, all the time. We're good, you know, it's all good. And they had a tennis camp up there where he lived, which I played at several times. So anyway, so the way this happened was back in the early double odds, I'm living in New Hampshire, and I'm skiing at this place called Cannon Mountain, which is the mountain where Bodie Miller learned how to ski. So, okay. And some of you may know Bodie is like America's best ever skier, along with, I think, Phil Mayer. And anyway, so because of this connection with the community, like, which is, I was not really a tourist. I mean, I lived in New Hampshire, but I was a flatlander, and we're up in the mountains. It's like 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away, okay? So I started my blog, and this is like 2005, 2004, somewhere in there. 2005, I started my blog. It was 2007, right? And so I met some of Liko's friends and Bodie's like associates because of this. And Bodie was still skiing then. I think he was still in the Olympic Games, right? So I hear in the news that a kid allegedly ran over a cop twice, and then shot him and ran him over twice. And I popped out of bed and I said, "Oh my God, that's horrendous! Well, how could that happen?" And I initially had all these bad thoughts about the kid. I'm like, God, what a jerk. Like, you know, remember, I'm law enforcement background originally. Like, why would you do that? What happened? I said, something's going on behind this, right? So I just put up a post on my blog one day and I said, does anybody know what the hell happened here? Because I said, I'm not buying this whole story. And then, sure enough, I'm going to try to sum this whole case up. We got to move it along, okay? The cop was dirty. He had put his wife in a safe house for abuse. When this happened, he also had been stalking Liko. He would drive down the end of their driveway. This is a rural area of town. He hated the Miller and Kenny family because they had money. I mean, they didn't really have money. Bodie had money. They had land. Get it?
Right.
So they were land-rich, money poor. Most of it, except the youngest brother, Mikey. Mikey built tennis courts for the community and stuff like that. Mikey was a businessman. He had money. Okay? But the other siblings really didn't have a lot of money. They had property, and they had Bodie for security. All right? Get it? Got it. Okay? So, Bruce McKay hated them. He was, oh my God, he reported their tennis camp vans for being stolen. He ran an investigation on their vans. Oh my God, I interviewed so many people who were abused by him who sent letters to Franconian City Hall about him. We're talking like women, white women who were abused by him. One of them was a professor, college professor of criminal studies. And she's like, Bruce, what are you doing? You know I'm not drunk. We just left the cocktail party. I like 2, 3, 4 nights. What are you talking about? And this mother, let me slow down. This dude had her trapped in the back of the car, and then he used one of those hunting type knives. She described it as a penis-shaped head on the knife, right? You know what I'm talking about. Right. They call it. But he used one of those. And by the way, guys, I love guns. I love knives. Okay, I love smoky, dirty dirt bikes. I'm not a liberal. Okay, so that went out the window too, right? So anyway, he takes this knife and he uses, instead of unbuckling her from the back seat, he used the knife to cut the belt off while he's pointing the head of it at her private. Right?
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Wow, right. So that's when the community started giving me tips, much like the community is sending tips to me massively right now. And they're like, dude, this cop was bad news. King, you got to understand, right? So I had to sue to get some of the video released of the tragic altercation, which we'll get to in a minute. So I had to sue to get his full records, right? Which I still never really got all of them. But I got records of him trashing this girl one night on a DUI charge. It's like he's always out of control. I have like the woman who ran the local store tell me about stuff. It's all in the videos. If you go to Circle of Stone on Wix, you'll see this, the dummy website there. The videos are there. So it was just horrendous. So on the day in question, the cop knew that Lico's asbestos sticker was like 2 days old. So he pulled Lico. He pulled Lico over, and he'd already beaten him up 2 years earlier during a Super Bowl thing for no reason. Okay, Lico's license was valid. He was just chilling out in the park. The park had no curfew, and he just harassed Lico way back then, right? So on this day in 2007, Lico's driving home from the Agway store where he worked with his friend Caleb, who I interviewed. I know Caleb. He took a settlement later. He's on his way now, okay? So Caleb and Lico are in Supra, the first generation Supra. They're driving down the road. McKay sees him with the inspection sticker 2 days old. He knows already. He runs tag. He knows. McKay pulls him over. Lico says, wait a minute, man. He says, I'll tell you what. He says, I'm not having this right now. He drives down to Mikey's house, and he tried to call his uncle Mikey, but the service is spotty back then in 2007. It breaks up. Lico takes us down the road, and he does not speed. Like the way they projected this stuff. Again, watch what media does. They projected Lico as some maniacal kid, right? So Lico, he was sitting in a dirt area. So of course, his manual transmission car. Of course, when he left the dirt area, a little bit of stuff flew up. But the way the media plays it, Lico pulled out aggressively and mud flew up behind his tires. It's like, stop. But the thing is, so Lico's trying to get to his uncle's house so he can have a witness to whatever McKay's going to do to him this time. Well, luckily, I have a witness to all of this as they drove past her house before what happened next. Okay? And I'm going to tell you exactly how she described it so you don't get nothing mixed up here. I'm going to the website right now, right? And there it goes. So Lico does never exceed 35 miles an hour because he knows he's not trying to mess around. He just wants a witness. And he wants somebody like Mikey, who's a businessman, to see what's going on. All right. So he gets there, and he's almost at the uncle's house. He's like just like 300 feet from the house. McKay drives past him, and I'm trying to find that part. He drives past him and turns around, and then with his Tahoe, 6,000-pound Tahoe against like a 2,400-pound Celica, turns around and then bashes him off the road, grill to grill, so that you can't see him no more. Right? He's gone. And then he gets out of the cruiser, walks up to Lico and Caleb without a warning or directive, and empties the whole can of OC spray in the car. So Lico is sitting there saying, "Oh my God, he's finally gonna kill me this time." Lico unloads on this cop. Wow. And meanwhile, here's the X factor. Okay, the X factor. There's this ex-Marine who, by the way, never made it on Camp Lejeune. Okay, his name is Greg Floyd. He's on the side of the road. We're gonna be here for a while, guys. Sorry. Okay, so Greg Floyd, he's sitting up there across from the cop. So when the cop, goes in to pull Lico and bashes him in, this ex-Marine sits there with his headlights facing McKay. So Caleb and Lico, you can see him reach out the window of their car. They're looking at him for help. They're like, "Oh my God, help us! We're this cop's messing with us, right?" Little did they know that this guy is on the cop's side.
Wow.
Right? And so he had a history longer than of just his rap sheet was horrible. He was a 3-time felon for weapons and drugs out of Georgia. 3-time felon. So he's sitting there, and then all of a sudden, after Lico shoots the cop, this guy runs up and grabs the cop's gun, and he runs over to Lico's car, and he shoots through Caleb's window on the passenger side and executes Lico. Yeah. But Lico's trying to get away, right? And he can't really see because he's got the captain spray. So of course he hit the cop once, but then he backed up and tried to get around him. And when he backed up after accidentally hitting him, that's when the other guy, the third guy, shot him. So all this stuff is coming together. I had to. There was a press pack for journalists, and being as I was a registered journalist working with the New England News and Press Association, I'm chartered, I'm recognized. They had to give me the CD. Back then it was CDs, guys, right? So they give me the CD. I am the only journalist who ever dared to publish a picture of the bullet in the windshield of that Supra. That clearly indicates, hey, wait a minute, something's not right with the official story. You know, so who fired that shot first? Did Bruce get a shot off first? You know, did Nico respond to that? It was all crazy. And then to wind this story up, we'll move on to the next one. Greg Floyd told an absolute lie. He said he was talking to Nico and told him to dechamber and do all this, that, and the other, right? You guys, it was May 11th, 2007, May 11th. In North Country, New Hampshire, it's still cold as hell up there at that time. The windows were up.
Right.
And in fact, in the crime scene photos, you could see it even set underneath. The window mechanism was in a fully up position, but the window was shattered. Okay?
Wow.
The sunroof was closed. He never spoke to those boys. He just shot them. So I exposed all that. I hooked up with a couple of other lawyers. We brought a wrongful death case, right? Yeah, we did. And I wasn't licensed at that time, but they think, of course, the judge threw it out. But yeah, other licensed, experienced attorneys saw enough there that we needed to do that because they had ignored everything about this cop. So anyway, I ended up getting a road named after this cop twice. We got shut down twice, which I would never do because honestly, I'm not an ACAB person. I mean, I'm not. But I rallied to prevent that guy from getting a road named after him twice. And the videos are all online. You can see it all. The testimony from 20 years ago. So that's the end of that. And I just want to say one thing about that before we move to the next case. The woman, Susan Thompson, who I got to know, she described this encounter. She said, quote, "The gray car was not going fast. I thought McKay was trying to get around it for something else. He made several movements. Her daughter called it a 10-point turn in her interview to come nose to nose, now facing north. McKay pushed him and kept pushing him down into the gravel area. Dirt flew back from the police car, pushed him so strongly, and he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing until the gray car was beyond my view."
Wow.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And so the whole community loved me up there. All right. And then, so Maura Murray that you mentioned, Maura was one of the first of the digital era missing women, right? Young girl.
Right.
So we suspect that there's something going on up there in New Hampshire, okay? So Fred Murray is her father. And Fred Murray loved me. He's like, dude, you get stuff on McKay, let's talk. So Maura Murray, you guys, is all over everywhere. You'll see the stories everywhere. Sometimes my name will come up in there, sometimes it won't. But this stuff has been on Lifetime TV and everything. Nobody ever found Maura Murray. But Rico, by the way, had heard about Maura Murray, and he was actually looking for her because they're woods people. He had his ATV out, and Rico had been part of the search team looking for that young girl. Right? So, well, fancy that. So I'm telling you, this is why things are not as they are set out to be projected in the media. It was true for Rico, a white boy, and it's true for Carmelo, a black boy. Let X equal X.
Mm.
Oh, God. I got to tell it, man, because people have to understand the nuances. So we're done with Rico now. All right. Let's move on to Darrell Diamond Jones. This one's a little quicker. A lot quicker, actually. Darrell Diamond Jones was convicted in 1985 of murder. What was going on for real? This is in Brockton, Mass. Okay, so what happened for real was that there was a drug dealer who was, providing the cops with drugs. Okay, so nothing new there, right? So at some point, they began extorting him. Like, give me more, this and the other. one day he said, no, to hell with you, I'm done. Well, not long after that, he's dead, right? So he died. He's shot outside this bar where Darrell Jones and other people used to hang out, and they made Darrell this taxi, all right? And so he got wrongly convicted. And during the conviction, sorry, I'm going to eat some noodles. I'm so hungry. So during the conviction, all right, hold on. All right, so during the conviction, they bring this video out. Here comes the video again, right? They doctored the video.
Sounds
a
familiar.
prostitute. Oh yeah, the history keeps repeating itself. We'll get to the watermelon felon part in a minute, okay? That was, we'll get there in a minute. I want to get ahead, okay? So they doctored this video. It's called a crash edit, and they cut it where this she was saying something to make her say something else, right? I forget the particulars right now, but so that's what happened. And so there are always questions about the video because it skipped. And it was really bad. But remember, this is like 1985, right? VHS was still new almost, right? So so the chick, Terry Starks is her name, or Sparks, something like that, right? So he ends up doing all the time. So I come into the case later. And in like 2007, I had a radio show out of Boston, right? Touch FM. And so the Black-centered radio station, but I covered a bunch of, just different stuff because that's how I am. So anyway, this Joanna Marinova was an activist, and she was a prison activist, and she's Bolivian. So the story comes out in a newspaper. It's called the Boston Herald. And the story was that she's having sex with inmates. And I looked at the two women who I used to host the radio show with, and I said, huh? And I said, I know that prison. You can have sex there. I mean, you could technically have sex anywhere, but I mean, you're not going to have it there, right? Because it's open. You're not going. It's not going to happen, dude. There's guards everywhere. There's people. There's children around. You're not having sex in that room. Okay, you can't even cop a feel in that room, right? So my dander went up, and I said, "This is crazy." So we invite Joanna to the show, and she breaks it down. That radio. I mean, you guys can call me. That interview is still on my YouTube. All right. So. She comes on the show, and I said, you need to get you a lawyer. I said, I'm not practicing right now, but you can, that's defamation. And she already knew it was. And I said, you need to go ahead on and get you a lawyer. So she goes to these lawyers. She doesn't call me before she goes. She goes. They reject the case. She comes back and she calls me later. She says, King, they didn't take my case. I said, they what? And I said, call them back. We're going to go down there. So she calls them back. We go down there. It's in the boardroom. And I break it down to them, and I show them why it's defamation. And it's a valid case. They take it. 5 years later, all right, and I shot all the courtroom video. That video's on my YouTube. Shot all the courtroom video this whole time, and Joanna ends up winning a $570,000 jury verdict. Okay, for the defamation. All right, and then $0.9 million on the settlement because attorney fees, interest, all that stuff. Right. So that's her piece of it. But she was an advocate for Darrell Jones. Now let's get back to Darrell. Okay. Darrell, he gets a new hearing. He's got, high-powered lawyers. I'm running back around there doing investigations and stuff, going on the field, trying to find out where this prostitute is now, all this stuff. They set him up big time, just like Carmelo guy. They set him up, all right? So the witnesses lied. It's a whole package again, 40 years ago, right? So then we finally get him they get the charges, they get him out, right? Then you'll see videos on there from where they actually bother to retry him. Okay? I can't wait for that to happen with Carmelo if they retry him. That jury was out literally. They were out like 2.5, 3 hours. They're probably like making sandwiches and playing pinochle. They came back, they were like, get this case out of here, right? And so you'll see interviews there where I interviewed him after the trial and everything like that. And, and so it was just, that's another case, right? So that's a lot quicker to get over than the legal case. So Darrell is out. All right, now we're going to get to, you have any more questions about this one before we go on to Jason Battelle?
No.
Okay, I know, I'm pretty clear, ain't I, right?
Yep.
Look, S B equals X when I walk in the room, guys. Right? Just don't need to bullshit. It's like
right.
Short. Okay, so all right, now we come to Jason Battelle. Also, his videos are on my YouTube page, okay? So, Jason Battelle, who is he? He's second-generation Jamaican immigrant. Again, a model student like Carmelo, no problems with the law. One night in about 2002, 2010 or no, 11 or 12, 2011 or 12. He's in his dorm room late at night, and he's got some visitors over. I think it might have been, a white girl. It's dangerous, right, in some areas. So these two white guys who were drunk and trespassing didn't go there. One of them, I don't think either of them had a college degree even, right? They broke his window, talking trash to him. And he said, leave me alone. So then they actually go around to the front door of the door. This is at UMass Amherst, okay? Facts.
Right.
They go to the door, they get in the door. Somebody lets him in the door. So he comes out to the front. He's like, guys, get the F out of here. You have no business here. So I had to sue to get the footage for that, right? I sued him, and so did some other networks too. But I think it was the first one out the gate, right? So we get the image of the security image of them attacking this kid, and he's back home from work where he worked at the factory. He's got a box cutter. He got the box cutter, and he gets the better out of one of them. He slices them. The guy doesn't die or anything, but he gets some wounds. Do you know they had Carmelo facing something like 40, 50 years, and one of the white boys didn't even charge him. The other one was charged with something like trespassing, some minor stuff. And so we're sitting here looking at this, right? Now, let me explain to people. UMass Amherst is in Western Mass. It's not in Boston where a lot of black folks are. It's out there. There are not a lot of black people out there in that area. But the community out there, once they saw the facts of what happened, unlike some of you Metcalfians, once they saw the video and could clearly see what happened, they came out en masse. And you could see them in my videos in the courtroom. They were like pissed. They were like, you need to let him go. And so they did. But guess how long it took? How long do you think the case took?
Probably about 7, 8 years.
No. It wasn't like that. No. It was 2 years.
Oh, okay.
The kid sat there in limbo for 2 years over nothing. And they now brought the charges and this and that, but still, to be under that umbrella. And I had avoided talking about Jason's case online a lot, even though I have a lot of good video from it and stuff. You'll see him. So the name again is Jason Vassell, Vassell, on my Google Kingcast plus whatever. You'll see it on YouTube. So I didn't want to talk about it a lot over these years because, I wanted him to get on with his life and not live in the shadow of this. But now that this case is here, I can't not talk about it. It's right there in your face. Right.
It's right there in your face.
Yeah. Right there in your face. Woo. All right. So
sad.
There's the background. Yeah. Each of those cases. Do you see how each of those cases ties into this one?
Yes, I do. It's sad. Like, it really is. We got a caller in queue.
Okay.
So, caller number one. We got caller number one in queue. Caller number one, if you would, please state your name and where you're calling from.
Hello there, and hello to your special guest. I am Tiana. Please tell me that's welcome.
Hey, Tiana.
So I'm enjoying listening to other stories, but I wanted to ask your guest a question. So, in watching a lot of videos on social media, there's one person that I frequently watch here and there, and it's a civil rights lawyer, and he goes through the video of things happening. Now, when you watch on things on social media, just regular videos, it's like sometimes, I can spot AI because I'm like very familiar with it, but it's so good. When you say something about the footage, like the inductor, can you imagine the things that can happen now to put an innocent person behind bars just from like footage? Like, what could be done to stop that? Like, is there any type of law out there or anything that how can I put it, where they have to review the footage and make sure that it's not generated by AI to be able to put somebody behind bars?
Exactly. I don't know. I would love to see, because AI was not a big thing. It was not a thing yet when Darrell got out, because that was like 8 years ago, right? It was just in its origins, with editing. You can still make something funky, but not like AI, right? So today, that's a really great question. What are they doing to maintain the integrity of these things. But what we do know, let's limit it to this case. What we do know is affirmatively is that I have talked to at least 6 people who watched the video at Frisco. So that video is purportedly, the innate video, the primary source video. And I explained this too in a post I put up today. The camera that they use, this was a major event, this event. So they're probably shooting that. They keep saying it's off the security camera. I don't believe that for 1 minute, okay? It was a major event, a regional track meet. I believe they were using what's called a Pixelate, is the name of the company, Pixelate. And they were using one of their cameras that has 3 heads. Some cameras have 4 heads. And it's like a what do you call a stop sign, but turned sideways. And each of those heads gets a quadrant, or it's not a quadrant, it's a tripartite or whatever of the field. But they seamlessly go through the field. As the action moves up the field, it's going to be seamless, where one is going to merge to the other, right? And each of them can zoom. So what I believe happened, because in some of these statements they would say, "Oh, Carmelo would do this," but then he runs off, but you can't see him complete his running. That's because they're on the middle camera.
She may not know what you're talking about.
Okay, so again, like imagine.
Are you familiar with the Carmelo? Are you familiar with the Carmelo Anthony case?
Yeah. Show it while they were speaking about it. So
Oh, okay.
Looking it up. Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. It's like you never know, And I know for a fact that even when people like put out articles, I myself, this was nothing else. But someone did an article about me about something good that I did in the community, and when I went back, like years later to look at it, it was totally changed. Like I'm very big on natural health, and then I never told this lady I took medication at all. I never told her that. In the article, it said that I take medication, and it had a link to the ad. Like the article was changed, and I'm like, if I had never went back and looked at it, I would have never known. So how many times can something be changed? You know what I mean? Like the video, the articles, all of these things. You know what I mean? Like there has to be something to be able to to make sure that things are checked, like fact checked, to be out there. But I mean, throughout this life, we see this. With the VHS tape, you kind of can, like, back then, you kind of could pay attention to the little time and stuff, the little things you would know. That like now, it's like things are so seamless, like you like this thing. I'm like, wait a minute, is that AI? You're not sure, but you have to watch it again, and then you can catch little things, little transitions. You're like, no, that's impossible. I was watching a video yesterday. It said it was a 4D theater in Japan, and I'm like, there's no way that this is the water was splashing, but you never know what technology can happen. But it's like, no, there's no way. It looked like the water was completely splashing on these people, and it's sad to be definitely AI generated, but it looks so real. People are screaming and getting up and like covering their faces and stuff. So it's like, what if somebody did? What if that was a video of somebody doing something to someone that they weren't even doing,
Right.
So it's crazy, like, and how can you make sure, as a million individuals, that you keep yourself safe? Because anybody can target you who has a means of a computer, simply and just make something, and maybe make it to a point where you can't tell it's AI if they're smart enough. And that is very scary. Thank you for answering my question. Thank you for telling the stories. I appreciate it. Angela, thank you for taking my call. I love my radio family. Again, I'm Tiana Speaks. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on Speaks Radio, on Instagram or Facebook. And I hope you guys have a great night.
Thank you for calling in. We have caller number 2 in queue. Caller number 2, if you would, please state your name and where you're calling from. Caller number 2. Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Good evening. Peace, everybody. I just got in the room, and I'm sorry I'm late. I wanted to know more about the brother Christopher's case. I just logged in a couple minutes ago.
Oh, we talking about Christopher, what's called The other case, Christopher, what's his name?
You talking about Christopher Niehys? We was actually talking about Carmelo's case. We wasn't talking about Christopher's case, but Christopher, if you're in reference to Christopher Niehys' case, he was attacked by a mob of YT kids in Midlothian, Texas. He actually will be coming up. I think his case, he'll be going to court in September. Is that who you're talking about?
Speaking things, Christopher. Apologies.
Yeah, his name is Christopher. His.
You were talking about your case. You were wonderfully and legally depicted.
No, we were. He was talking about. He's a lawyer. He was talking about some cases that he had assisted in.
You're good. No, you came in at a good time because that's what we're going to get right now. I did some introductory background stuff about okay. But now you're at a perfect time because now we're going to.
You going out, Christopher? I don't know what happened to him. I can't hear him. He must be having some technical difficulties. You yeah, you good now.
Yeah, I dared to move around in the house. We have there's a lot of stone pillars around the house, and it's kind of not in the best area. So I'm just gonna pretty much try to stay in my room right now. Yeah, I was telling the last caller that she came at a great time because now we're really gonna get ready after the background and all this stuff. Now we're gonna get into this case and some of the problems that I'm seeing here. We foreshadowed a lot of them, but we already have the background and what's going on. But some of the things that happen in this case, and there's in no particular order because there's so many things to go after, right? But I first want to address. Let me think what's first. I first want to address the way. Let's start with the video that we know to be true, okay? On that day, you could clearly see that Carmelo was seated there, and these boys come up to him. Are they moving assertively? They have a mission in motion, right? And they're coming up in a V formation pretty much. They do not sit, okay? That's a lie. And for anybody to say they were sitting there first, that's a lie. I believe Hunter said that. I think Hunter did say that. I think Jeff said it. I think Megan might have said it. It gets confusing because they're all telling lies or covering up for abusive conduct. It's a fact. So, Jeff, you want to get to suing me? Go right ahead. I'll be right here, sir. All right. So these boys came up there and they went straight to Carmelo. And I want to say that Hunter goes in first. It's hard to tell which twin is twin. All right, but they go right at him, and he's seated. Carmelo does not get up. At some point, according to Hunter, Austin grabs his backpack. And then all hell breaks loose. You see what was described as a lineman tackle. This is as stated by Major Press, okay? While we're sitting here, just so you guys don't think I'm making this up, I'm going to go ahead on and log into my TikTok so you can hear Major Press describe the tackle, all right? Because they're going to tell you that you're lying about everything, right, until you show them.
And while you logging in to TikTok, I'm going to bring up caller number 3, who is our WBNN commissioner, Unique Parker. She actually lives not too far from that area. She lives in Dallas, Fort Worth. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her up.
Oh, great. That's great.
Welcome, Unique. Commissioner Unique, how are you tonight?
Into this conversation because, you know, it's been so many lies told on Carmelo, and it's just sickening. You know, people can speculate, people can make up stories, all kinds of lies to make Carmelo look bad, but to actually see up in the county where it took place. It was so many. He had so many supporters. I mean, so many. It was overwhelming that they had it barricaded so you couldn't get in. But with that being said, it amazes me how the black race against the white race is so biased, because a white kid can do the same crime and get slapped on the wrist. And they said that they have mental illness or they was under stress or whatever, but then they take 2 or 3 days to deliberate, but then they just only took 3 hours to deliberate on Camilla. And
and then they shipped the baby off within 24 hours. I never heard of such.
Right, and not only that, they said that Carmela ran up to stab Metcalf. He didn't do that. They had him barricaded in. That he was trying to leave. He was trying to leave, and they kept pushing him back in. They had him by his jersey, and they kept pushing him back into the circle. And it wasn't even his knife. It wasn't his knife. So make it make sense to me how he was sitting there minding his own business, and they came over there bullying him. But it's a lot of untold stories. See, they won't let the truth come out, but it's going to eventually come out.
And guess what?
People going to speculate.
Guess what? Carmelo ain't never opened his mouth. He ain't never opened his mouth. So don't nobody know that. Don't nobody know. All they know is what everybody else say. Carmelo has never had the opportunity to say nothing. Never had the opportunity to say nothing. Go ahead, Christopher. Christopher, you wanted to say something?
I think it's by design. I think that the family was used. I have been an advocate early on to bring in Ben Crump and some other people, like a higher level black attorney, to monitor the situation. I have receipts, but it is what it is. But we're here now.
Right.
Okay? And I am not comfortable with what happened. I've been very vocal about not being comfortable for reasons we're about to get into, technical stuff that non-lawyers can understand in a minute. But I think this case is going to go down in history as one of the biggest transgressions, violations of due process, the proverbial. God, I can't think of a term big enough to describe it, right? But it is the most proverbial travesty of justice that I've seen. It's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, let's get back into the show here.
Crazy, but what hurts me the most about being here in Texas is where, it's been so many blacks. Excuse my French or the way I word things, but I'm from the South, and I'm just gonna be transparent and just say it the way it is. It's sickening to me when back home they say, well, there's so many house niggas up in here, and opposed to field. See, field niggas gonna stand up for their people no matter what. You can beat them, whip them, and tie them and burn them at stake, but they're not gonna turn on their people. But then it's others that will turn on their own color just to get recognition, and it's sickening. And those people, I tell them to stay out my face, because this young man didn't do everything that they're trying to put the jacket on his back. So with those people, don't talk to me, because you just want to be seen and heard, but the truth is going to come out, and I appreciate you, and I respect you for your loyalty and everything on this case to let everybody know the truth. And I'm glad that Angela is letting the whole nationwide know what's going on here in Texas, in the DFW area. It just appeases me to let this go on for so long, and they want to stand tall, like they got the right, and they're just lying and just not telling the truth.
Facts. That's facts. That's facts. Well,
Yeah, it is. It is.
I want to. I thank you for coming on and sharing. When is your next show, Unique?
My next show is on the 30th, which is Tuesday. And I hope you get a chance to tune in because it's going to be an interesting show as well. You know, it's just amazing. This is just overwhelming to me, you know. And like you say, this is going to go down in history just like the Rodney King went down in history, just like the Emmett Till went down in history, just like all the other great people. He's going to be right up there with them, you know, because for a person to be lied on and then later on, years and years later, after you didn't tarnish their image, you want to come out and say it was based on a lie. These people are not getting a chance to enjoy life behind a lie.
Yep, his life has changed, but he's going to be vindicated. He's going to be vindicated.
Yes, it
He's
is.
going to be
And
vindicated.
even when he get out, it's gonna be they think that he's there. They have tarnished his image, but it's gonna be people support him more when he get out than they are now because they know that he didn't do anything wrong.
Exactly.
And the autopsy report said that this guy was high on drugs. That's what killed him.
Well, we don't that is not a that's not a that is a fake autopsy report that people have been passing around. So we not gonna pass that information out because we like to stick with facts, things that we do know, and that's something that was not released with the information that we have that we know is facts. So we standing on facts. The baby is innocent based on facts. So we not gonna push the rhetoric that other people are pushing. We gonna stick with the facts and allow the truth to continue to speak. Because one thing about the truth is gonna stand, and a lie will always die. So we gonna stand on the truth, and we gonna stand on the facts. We don't know what they was doing, but we ain't gonna go with that report because it was debunked back when it first started. A lot of people coming out with a lot of stuff, but we sticking with the facts. We sticking with the facts.
Yeah, we know where that.
So thank you, Unique, for coming on and sharing with us tonight. Definitely we'll tune in on Tuesday to support your show. We got another caller in queue real quick. Caller number 4, if you would please state your name and where you're calling from. I can hear you now.
Jamaica, and it's a safety baking company. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, maker of Tasty Cake. Baby, Devin Nation at Talk Radio, Lagos, Nigeria.
Caller number 4, if you would please state your name and where you're calling from.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sinead Johnson, and I'm calling from California. How are you guys doing this evening?
Hey, Shanette.
We're good.
Hey, well, you know, my heart goes out to this young man. I talk to men from Texas, well, from all over, that has been wrongfully convicted. And when that sentence came down, I said, Lord, not again. Me and Angela was on the phone. We were talking about this. 35 years. If you guys don't do your research, the black man is the number one man that's wrongfully convicted. You can say they're not, but there are. The statistic is out there. They do the longest time off a wrongful conviction.
But how do you personally know that? How do you personally know that? How do you personally know that?
Mm-hmm. My husband is currently incarcerated on a wrongful conviction, and I advocate for him. I'm advocating for a lot of men coming out of Denver, coming out of Texas, coming out of California. All their stories are the same, and these men do not know each other. They all had been didn't have jury of their peers. Coming out of Texas, all the men said their jury was white. Or white tea, excuse me. Even in Denver, not one black jury not one black person sat on their jury. They will consider a person of mixed black. But that's the only type of person that sit on their case. I want to know, have anybody looked at from 2020 in Houston, Texas, where a young man stabbed a 16-year-old? He was only given 12 years, and his conviction was considered manslaughter. Then
Are you referring to cases?
Yes.
Are you referring to the case? Yeah, right. Case analysis?
Yes. Then,
okay, yeah.
Then what about the in August of 2021, where another young man, not of African descent, these are young people that's not of African descent, which received 15 years for man. They said his was also manslaughter. Then you got one in May of 2022, San Antonio, Texas. He only received 30 days in jail. Then you got one coming out of Belton, Texas, just 2 years ago. He received 10 years.
That's case analysis. That's case analysis right there, Christopher. Because he only got 10 years. Yeah.
He got 10 years. And he was convicted of criminal negligent homicide. And then here comes R. Carmelo. 35 years for standing his ground. Murder.
Right. Well, okay. So yeah, let me. Yeah, can I bridge right now? Let's bridge and roll back into this case, if I may. I want to back you up on. First, let's start with your general observations. You may have come across. Are you familiar with the Baldus study?
No, not
okay. So yeah, your husband may have. This is very vital to what you're doing. So look it up. It winds up in a U.S. Supreme Court case called McCleskey versus Cup or something like that. But the Baldus. So Eugene Baldus was a professor, legal scholar out of Minneapolis, I think. Anyway, he wrote a study years and years ago about the disparities in the legal system when it comes to black and brown. And, you start from the very beginning, which is, okay, who is the cop most likely to make out, right? It starts with the cop on the street. Who is most likely to see the black crimes? Because, white crimes can happen more sheltered environments, right? Behind closed doors. If you got blacks in urban city area, it's easy to see that drug deal go down. You're going to see that first. Then it goes into how assiduously does the cop approach it? Does he say, hey, man, you guys going to be all right, or take it home, right? Or does he go all in and say, empty your pocket, stand on a wall, right? Then the next phase goes to, okay, so now there's a police report filed. What does the prosecutor do with it? Does the prosecutor let it sit there, just kind of let it die, or just kind of dismiss it, or give him a warning, or, call up the court, give him some type of a, deferral program or whatever? All right, then that's that phase. Well, we got like 3 phases already, right? Right. Then we get to what's the charge? How deep is the charge? How what kind of weight is on that? Right? Is it going to be a misdemeanor? Is it going to be a felony? What's it going to be? Then after that, we come to like step 5 now. We're into how vigorously does the prosecution do its job. You take it to trial, and what does the jury do? Step 5 is kind of like the jury. What does the jury do? What does the judge do? What's the percentage of more guilty verdicts, and then what's the sentencing going to be like? And so you've got about, I think there's like 7 steps involved in this study or so, and from at each step of the way, Black and brown are disadvantaged, and that is what it is. And I am not telling people that. Let me take all the double negatives out of this. Plenty of white people suffer this fate too. Okay, we're not denying that, but systemically there is a built-in bias against Black and brown, and that is undeniable. And I'm not gonna have somebody tell me that calling out racism is racism. It's not. It's just calling a spade a spade. Exactly. Right. So, and also, by the way, when we get back to this case, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not even so sure that the initial altercation had a whole lot to do with race. There were things going on there. So I think race was a part of it, but it wasn't all of it. All right. But the way that it's been treated after that, definitely race is involved. Let's not talk about that. Right. So, all right, let's come back to the case. And so I told you about the Balda study. Go look that one up because I'm sure it's still relevant today, right? It's been updated. It's still relevant. So now we come back to this case, which is the highlight of the show. All right. Let's start off with, I think we kind of understand the basics of the case, as I said before. Carmelo's sitting there. I will tell you this. There is no tent policy. We went over this before, but just for viewers or listeners coming back in, I got the public information request back from
ISD.
Frisco ISD. There is no policy. Then I got the public information request back. Somebody else got it from UIL. There's no policy for UIL for the state side. It's reported to the local. Okay?
Right.
That's clear. And plus it was inclement weather. And plus, like I said, these are track meets. It's not like the tents are not that territorial during the track meet, and there were other kids from other schools underneath that tent. There was something about it, and the testimony said, I could quote right now, the witness was asked, do you remember Carmelo saying, the only people having a problem with me under this tent are you? And the witness answered, yes. Okay? And then the other part that I want to talk about right now is how this testimony came out. They asked the witness, "Oh, did it look like? Was Austin wanting to fight?" Well, you can't ask somebody that question. It's subjective. I mean, you got to elocute and say, "What did Austin do? What did Carmelo do?"
Right.
Because the fact of the matter is, Austin kept on several flights to go get Carmelo. So I'm telling you, he didn't want to fight, but yet he walks up the flights to go get somebody a tackle. And then let's come back to the tackle, by the way. I have it pulled up. We're going to talk about that. I want you all to hear this. And this is major press. This isn't KingCast. This is what it is, right? Okay. We have it pulled up right here. Here we go, guys. Mark Stalpa, KingCast here, your brother-in-law. Listen, this case led me to come back along. Yes, that's why I renewed my license in large part in the injustice. Get right to it here. Welcome to the legislation of KingCast, law, justice, politics, things of that nature, and corruption. So first of all, Carmelo Anthony is indeed an epileptic, okay? He had just been hospitalized 2 months prior. So of course he's afraid of being unalived by a bully like Austin Metcalf. Now, how does Metcalf not get this in? That's my question for either Judge Roach faults him or he faults Carmelo. It's one or the other. We're going to find out. Yeah. Now, how do we know? Now, let's take a look here. What the standard is, right? Because, this is all about the news now. Is it the shove or not? They got to know you've got to use proportionate force, all that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't just a simple push, right? It wasn't just a simple shove, though. How do we know that? Because Major Prep in the testimony told us that. Right? And we got to listen. Okay? We got KingCast, Major Prep, and I read it. J.D. Miles had it downloaded too. They said he was going to, they said, move on, beat your ass. You don't get to tell anybody, black, white, or anybody, that the area he was in was safe. He had been invited there by a teammate, one of Austin's memorial school. Okay? EP, who lied about his closeness, his relationship with Carmelo too. All these are facts. If you don't like it, I don't give a shit. All right? Here's the deal.
I'm not sure the prosecution expected this because they did have one of the witnesses said it wasn't just a push. It was, he lifted him up in like a linebacker drill, when you see a linebacker, hit the dummies. And so, that's what he said.
That's what he said, right? They don't want that coming out. Now let's go over here. Let's talk about these guys here. I call them the Brady Bunch. Even though I'm about to show you what these people, right, these coaches, that they protected. They took the twins because of the scholarship money and because of the potential liability to these cheerleaders that were being abused. What cheerleaders do you have, Mr. King? It's been debunked. Has not been debunked. King has got it right here for you.
Wow.
Boom.
Wow. Wow. You know what?
All this stuff. Uncle Vogue made us upset, right? Okay. Now, let's go to the next one. Here we go. The Metcalfs act out time and time again. Plural. They were touching at the repercussions, but there don't seem to be any repercussions. Let's repeat stuff, all right? There's your Manel right there. Here we go. After we left Kane, the other ball players, 100% his hands were bisexual. Meaning he would not only hit guys, but also girls, okay? Yeah. I feel like this is a public place. So sorry for having to come to you that's getting out of hand. No justification. And she also went on to say, stay confidential, as I fear they would do what they would do if they knew. Some boys were hellions, and we got more behind this. I'm just not I don't have liberty to show you, but trust me, you see the tip of an iceberg? Yeah, okay? That's what it's about. And how does, how would I get this in? Because he had it, right? He had it. And Mike Kemper, he's a lawyer too. Okay? Right, we're not playing with you. All right, so while I'm on this trip, let me read one more thing. While I'm doing this evidentiary thing, let me read one more text message, okay? You got the gist of the cheerleaders, and Megan has gone online now, basically blaming the cheerleaders, all right, and saying, oh, that's just so untrue. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. So now I'm going to read the text message from the coach, because they want to talk about how good these guys were, and they really got the team going. They did this and the other. You guys, they had a 1-6 record. They're like the Bad News Bears, okay? And so they, they had a fragile ego, all right? Fragile ego. The coach had told them, which year this text message, they couldn't lash out at the coach, so they're going to lash out at some girls and a black boy 2/3 their size. Then turn and flip the script and call the black boy the coward. Right?
Wow.
I mean, I really don't cuss anymore, much more online because, I got the license back and I kind of, whatever. You can just, in the back of my mind, you can imagine everything I'm saying right now that I can't say, right? Right. It's just so foul what they do.
Wow.
I just cannot believe it.
Wow,
so
wow,
let me read
wow.
to you this
Well, King Cass, I have enjoyed you, but it is time for our final thoughts. Our time is almost running out. So you can wrap that up with your final thoughts, and then it's gonna be Ngozi time. So share what you're gonna share, and then we're gonna turn it over to my producer.
Okay, great moment. So the message from the coach said, you guys, you leave early. You don't celebrate other people's accomplishments. You don't win. And he said, what are you contributing to this team other than celebrating yourself, right? And that's all true. So they told Austin to go help put the tent up, to change things up. When we come back another day, you want to look into other cases involving the sexual harassment that both Bill Werski and DA Greg Willis, they settled for $1.75 million. And there's a number of other things involving this agency, this court. There was a woman, a female judge, who Suzanne Wooten was pointing out some foul activity, and they threw her to the wolves as well. She did time in jail for something that she was found innocent and settled, I think, for $600,000. Judge Roach's father was involved in that, and furthermore, Judge Roach was admonished for commingling his own personal affairs with his wife and a book with Courthouse Business. So we
Wow.
didn't even get to the depths of the corruption in the county yet. These
Yeah,
are
we
facts.
hadn't. It goes deep,
Yeah.
and people don't understand. So I definitely want to bring you back. So I'll be talking to you on the back end, and we definitely will get you back on next month. In 4 weeks, we'll be back in 4 weeks. So definitely I'm gonna bring you back. So again, I thank you for sharing all that you have shared. Stick around, hold on. It is Ngozi time.
Seven-minute all-time connection record, tying the great Andre Presley, and amazingly, 7 consecutive with the Darlene Lawrence Championship. I'm a late great Hall of Fame. What a wonderful, outstanding show tonight. I want to thank Mr. Christopher Kitty, who gave us, his passion tonight of what he has learned throughout his travels and continues to teach us about what's going on in this society when it comes to just the lies of the judicial system. And of course, you know how that is. The next time we come on the air will be a person who's a champion of, making sure she exposes the lies of the judicial system. Her name is Dr. the Children. The name of the show is called The Storm. It will be here on Sunday at 9:30 Eastern Daylight Time, the one and only. Benediction Online Radio. And of course, Benediction. And thank you, Business Communications Advertising, Good Become Multimedia, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or the other label, Facebook. Anytime suggestions or what program tonight, Jose LA. Now I go to my NGO that I am. The mother and father spaces to Dr. Olazale Malay and supported by Richard Michigan and Kobe University and London Denny Baby Boy. And then thank you a lot to all the folks out there. And on Portion Radio, that support us on a constant basis tonight. This program has been brought to you by the great original Dragon's Not Fire lager from Kingston, Jamaica, and the Tasty Baking Company, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, maker of Tasty Cake, WNN, Nation, and Talk Shoe Radio, Lagos, Nigeria, and of course, National Exceptional Accolade, the 2023. And I want to tell what we're expecting the Designated Communications Host of the Year. The 2023 International Internet Radio Hall of Fame Broadcasting. And it's trying for the Excelsior, the 2026 International Internet Radio Hall of Fame Broadcasting Lifetime Achiever elect. The one of our outstanding young lady from Anderson, South Carolina, Angela Thomas.
Well, I definitely want to thank my special guest, Mr. Christopher King Esquire, for stopping by and sharing with us tonight. I want to thank all of those that called in to support the show on tonight. This would not be possible without each and every one of you guys' support, your call-ins, your listening, and all of that. Thank you for supporting me over these last 6 years. It has truly been a blessing. I thank God for the accolades. I thank him for the championship on tonight. Know that it would not be possible if you guys have not tuned in and if it was not for my special guest. Y'all, I will be back in 4 weeks. And again, I'm going to invite Mr. Christopher King Esquire back with us. So y'all, we're going to continue this conversation because we are bringing awareness to what is going on, some corruption within this judicial system, and we're shedding light on the Carmelo Anthony's case. So join us back here in 4 weeks, y'all. Be blessed. Love y'all.
Where purpose, truth, resilience, faith, and legacy meet. Queen Visionary Angela on the mic. Faith,